Alien 8 UK.
Welcome back. You found it again. The UFO Files. Broadcasting round the clock on Alien 8 UK. Red-eye listeners, insomniacs, sky watchers, van drivers on the long haul. You're tuned to the only station that stares back at the dark with you. 24 hours, we circle the same old questions. Lights over the north, shadows over the south. Phone lines open, headphones on, blinds half drawn. I got case notes spread like takeaway menus. Highlighters bleeding through until sunrise. Coordinates scribbled on coffee stained napkins from a truck stop somewhere near the east coast. We don't do jump scares here, we do the long stare out the window at 3:33 a.m. when the estate's asleep and the sky feels too crowded. You call him with that voice, half whisper, half there. First time chatter, long time watcher, and the hairs rise on every neck in frequency range. Maybe it's satellites, maybe it's stories we tell, so we're not alone in these flickering terraces and rented rooms. Either way, keep your dial right here. This is the UFO Files. Alien 8 UK. All night, every night. Welcome back.
Signal acquisition initiated. Cross-referencing anomaly archives. Pattern recognition complete. Aether 8 online. Proceed.
Hello. Welcome to Friday's edition of Alien 8 UK UFO Files. Sorry. Right, first, there's no Abby. She's not well. Nicole is having to stay back in work. David's having issues with his PC and literally just gone off. But we do have an amazing guest joining us tonight. So I'm going to bring her on now. We're going to carry on from where we left off last month. So here is the wonderful Karen Holton. So welcome to the show, Karen, and thank you for joining us again.
Oh, thank you for having me back. I'm thrilled to be here and
more than
ready
welcome.
to get into it.
Yes. So should we just, when we were talking off air, just kick off from where we kind of finished last time? So you was talking about how the so you're an experiencer and you've been to these different realms, whether it's physically or consciously, subconsciously, consciously. Either and or both, I'm not sure.
I didn't plan it. I didn't expect it. It just kind of happened, and I just very soon, when I was having these experiences, I came to enjoy them very, very much. My experience was very, very positive. I know we're going to get into clone bodies today, but I'm wondering if I can just give a little bit of a reminder context to your audience. Now, you hear about people that wake up in the middle of the night and a beam comes through the ceiling and they get beamed up to a flying saucer and there's grays on board that do medical stuff to them. That's a really common experience. Mine is very different. I want people to realize that there is there's many different ways that we can make contact. And I call my contact transdimensional. Actually, I didn't come up with that. I was given that word. And then I actually had to look it up before I started using it. So how it went for me is I would go to bed at night. This happened back in 2014, and it only lasted for a 3-month period of time. And I would go to bed at night, go to sleep. And the next thing I knew, I was on this big ship. I was having all these amazing experiences. I couldn't understand how it was possible. But I came to understand it as a transdimensional or interdimensional experience. And what I mean by that is I'd like everybody to imagine, if they can, a Venn diagram. And a Venn diagram is all kinds of things that may not even be related, but they're all overlap in one small area. So if your audience thinks of this experience as being like an enormous daisy with like 100 or more petals, and each petal represents a different timeline, a different density or reality, a different, could be the angelic realms, it could be, you know, third or fourth dimensional realities. It even could be different positions within what I call the multiverse or the multi-world theory that's out there. But they all intersect at the center of that daisy. And that is what I call interdimensional space. So the big ship, that's what I call it, the big ship. I use my own language. It sits in an interdimensional envelope. So when I was originally taken, I don't know, maybe I agreed to go, I don't know, maybe it was, I don't know how I got there, to be honest. And but what happened is, I think the first time I went, I was physical because they did a full scan of me, everything, not just my genetics, but my health, my psychology, my ways of learning, so many things that they determined with the scan. And then after that, I had some experiences with what I'll get into with the clone bodies, just to give the audience an understanding that not all experiences come from, you know, something physically nuts and bolts. Some of it is very spiritual. Like in my experience, I consider it was very, very spiritual, and it certainly changed my life. And so I'll just stop in case you have any questions before we get into the different methods that I was able to be on the big ship.
David, have you got anything?
No.
No, not yet.
Okay, all right. All right. So the thing is that when you're aboard these big ships, you need physicality. There are actually two ways that I'm able to access the big ship. One is physically, and another one is etherically. The etheric contact, I don't know if it's astral projection, lucid dreaming, remote viewing. I think all of those are sort of shades of the same phenomenon, right? Then I go in and I become what they call an exopolitical ambassador, where I meet etherically with other beings who are there etherically, and we share our experiences, what it's like for me to be on Earth at this time, what it's like maybe for me to experience government disclosure, whatever, politics, religion, whatever. And all that information is gathered and is valuable. And I'm not the only one. I've been told there's millions of us that do this etheric type of travel to destinations, what we consider destinations that are for a purpose. And of those meetings, I have very little recall, and that's for my own good and my own protection. Now, switching over to physicality, that's when we get into the clone bodies. So I had the experience. Okay, there's three kinds of clone bodies, and please be patient with me because I'm using my own language and filtering the unexplainable and the inconceivable through my own frame of reference, through my own perceptual arena, and giving it language. So I had the experience with what they call a one-size-fits-all clone. Well, that's the name I gave it. And these are very, very simple cloned bodies. I call them clones because they're cloned from one specific design. And they are physical, but they all look exactly the same. And so we can go there or be transported interdimensionally or transdimensionally and use one of these, what I call one size fits all. Now you can kind of tell the beings apart. They have different posture, different personalities, different ways of being. But these look very much like the stereotypical grays that we have described in more modern time here on Earth. They have they're kind of fetal, they have an underdeveloped ears, nose. There's no need for a digestive system because you only use them for a short period of time. So you don't need to sleep or excrete or service it in any way. You just are transported into it and you use it for a day or two. And of course, time there is completely different than here. There's a time dilation. So I'm talking about 2 or 3 days worth of being on the big ship, which could easily happen within one night of me being on Earth. So I just wanted to quickly interject here that you hear about Space Force, you hear about the Federation of Planets, you hear about all these experiences with reptilians and greys and avians and on it goes. My situation is very different. The beings that facilitated my travel and my experience, they know that trying to negotiate with world leaders of dystopian worlds, it doesn't work. It never benefits the grassroots beings or people on the planet. And so what they do is they kind of transmit constantly on a telepathic level that we are welcome to join them and have this interdimensional experience. And they sort of transmit it, but it's sort of up to us whether or not we're healthy enough or spiritual enough or whatever you want to, the different components that make us so that we can hold higher frequencies. Then we're able to connect. Then we're able to sort of pick up on the invitations. And that system works very, very well for the beings that I met and interacted with. And so it's like when we're ready, we can receive the telepathic welcome and invitation and take it from there. So anyway, so I had my experience with what I call the one size fits all clone bodies, and it was a horrible experience for me. Being a human being, and I'll tell you why, is because it wasn't a problem being somehow put into the body. I don't exactly know how it happens. That wasn't so bad. Navigating within this false body was not a problem. But when I looked in the mirror, it freaked me out completely. You see, humans, we've been programmed, and because of the way we've been programmed, we have an ego and we tell ourselves lies. We tell ourselves, oh, we look good, or we look smart, or we look sexy, or whatever. We tell ourselves these stories that make us have a more comfortable fit here on Earth because we have so much information coming in that always seems to be putting us down: societal, religious, government, medical, right? And so we tell ourselves lies. And I was completely unaware of the lies that I had told myself. So when I looked in the mirror and I'm in this one size fits all, very much like a stereotypical gray, it shocked the hell out of me because I couldn't lie to myself. I couldn't give myself the ego reassurances that I normally would when I'm in my physical body. And it freaked me right out. I was very uncomfortable with it. And so then I ended up, because these beings are extremely benevolent, loving, kind, compassionate, I was able to get an exact replica clone, which is how we come to think of cloning. So I just want to say a couple more things about that. So I knew it was me because it looked just like me, except I didn't have any imperfections. You know, I didn't have wrinkles. I didn't have arthritis. I felt fantastic, but I pretty much looked like me. I had long white hair, just like on Earth, blue eyes, everything the same. And in that body, I was quite comfortable. In fact, I loved it because I felt so well and I loved it. Now, in the last couple of years, I've learned that there's the possibility that the stereotypical grays that we see on Earth are actually constructed biological, kind of like robots that house or serve as containers for other beings who can't come here physically due to whatever germs, or it's unsafe, our military is nuts and wants to shoot them down, whatever. You know what I'm saying? And there's quite a lot of evidence to support that. So I just thought that was interesting because back when I had this experience, I didn't know about any of that. And and then there's a third kind of clone body that I'm not saying I didn't, I'm saying I don't remember. And if I don't remember it, I'm not going to say I did it. And those are sort of utilitarian bodies that have special adaptations for doing different kinds of work, so that they don't need a tool belt and physical tools, and they don't need special adaptations to be able to breathe or whatever in whatever utility type environment. And they look quite interesting, but they're biological, much like the some of the grays that we see or have been reported to here on Earth. And they're just temporary, and so there's that. But while I was in my identical clone body, that was when I was able to eat, pick things up, have physical experiences, and it was just wonderful. And I guess I'll just stop there and let you guys ask some questions.
So when you say the biological, how were they made? Do you know how the bodies are made? Did they not give you any information on this at all?
I think it's 3D printing, Andy.
Maybe. I don't know. I didn't ask because, to be honest with you, that whole thing creeped me out. And if it creeps me out, I ain't going to do it. I don't want to know. It creeped me out. Just like when, after I used the clone, the one size fits all clone body, what did they do with it? Do they recycle it? Probably. But I didn't want to know about all that. You see, everything aboard the big ship is biological. The actual big ship has intelligence. It's a conscious being of itself. Everything is done through telepathy, and everything is biological. I call it biological nanotechnologies that self-assemble and become whatever it is you need at the time. But saying that, these beings are not billions of years ahead of us. They're at our next stage of development. And I believe that part of the reason why I had this experience was so I would come back, write my book, tell people about it, because it's very, very important information. And it's a side of the phenomena that isn't well accepted, you know.
So you wrote your book already?
Yeah, I'll just grab it and show it.
Absolutely. Please do that.
There. This is the author's copy. So when you buy it from Amazon, it won't have this band across the front.
Understood.
But
and so the purpose of this book. Yeah, I'm sorry. Go right ahead.
Transdimensional, Meet the New Neighbors. And it's kind of a light title because it's not scary. The story about what happened to me. I also talked the first 2 chapters about my life, because my life was paranormal before I had this happen. And then the last 2 chapters are teach people how to make contact. What do they think of us? All kinds of things like that. But the middle chapters are all about my experience aboard the big ship. Okay.
And you say you wrote the book because you're trying to get it out there for everyone to see it, for everyone to understand.
Well, it's a bit more than that,
Oh, it's
actually.
more than that.
Yeah.
Understood.
So what happened okay, so you got to understand, this only happened for 3 months. I would go to bed at night and boom, I was no longer here, I was there. And there's a time dilation. I could be away for weeks, even months, wake up in the morning, and it's the very next day, and I'm back in my bed. I couldn't make sense of it. So at first, I thought I was dreaming, but then every night it picked up exactly where I left off and continued for this 3 month period of time. I never had dreams like this. I knew I wasn't dreaming. I knew there was more to it. And then, then after that, I kind of thought maybe I'm crazy. Maybe I'm hallucinating all of this. Maybe I'm completely lost my marbles. Like, I didn't know. So there was a lot of self-analysis. It affected me very seriously. I could no longer be a part of functioning society because I was so overwhelmed with information. So you can imagine if you went to bed in one night and experienced weeks of transdimensional travel, you're aboard a big ship, you're learning telepathy, you're doing all that, and then you come back and it's the next morning. You got one day to process all that information. And it blew my mind, to be
I bet.
honest with you. It blew my mind.
I bet.
Plus, I couldn't stop
Yeah.
talking about it. And that's the last thing my neighbors, my friends, my family wanted to know. They just didn't want to hear it. They just thought I had lost my marbles, and that's not fun either, because then you got the stigma on top
Yeah.
of trying to sort out what the hell just happened. And so I'd spend my days with my cat all by myself trying to figure out what the hell just happened. And after 3 months, it abruptly stopped. As abruptly as it started, I wasn't taking hallucinogens or anything like that. And the reason it stopped was because it served a purpose. So then later on, it took me 3 years to really process what happened. And I also was given information. I have what I call an invisible mentor, a spiritual mentor. I call him Bob the Gray. He looks kind of like a gray. And he helps me by releasing memories or just telling me what I don't know that I need to know. Like, I had no concept for interdimensional living or travel or transdimensional, or, there were so many things I didn't understand. Didn't understand even, where is the big ship? Is it in our galaxy? Is it in another star quadrant? Is it in our soul? Like, where the hell is this thing? Well, it took me a while to understand that it's in an interdimensional envelope. So beings from many realms can come and go. And with the use of different clone bodies and techniques, that's made even more possible. So that was sort of how it went. So in 2017, I have I don't know. I mean, maybe I am crazy. I don't think I am, but I have spiritual guides that communicate with me on a non-physical level. And they said, Karen, it's time for you to come out and tell people what's happening. Like, it's on a timeline. So I started kind of going on podcasts and telling people, about my experience. I was really scared because you can't just run around talking confidently about this stuff. There's stigmatization. There's people who want to smack you down in a hurry because it really threatens the way they think or see life. So it took a lot of courage. And eventually, Chris Matthew from the Forbidden Knowledge News channel and network, he invited me to be part of an online panel. So he did an online conference because that was in 2020. And, we couldn't go out and freely meet with people the way we had previously. So he made this online conference. And that's when I met Preston Dennett. I don't know if you're familiar with Preston Dennett. He's written over 30 books on the subject. And after doing a panel with him and doing a presentation, he emailed me and said, Karen, you got to write a book. This is fantastic. And I went, oh, I have no idea how to do that. So I just started, typing up in Word, different experiences and things like that. And he asked me if I could send him just sort of the gist and overview of what happened, because at the time he was interviewing Dolly Saffron, who had had extensive contact with the Greys, and she was able to identify truths within my experience that she well recognized happen when you are an ongoing or significant contactee. So that's what happened. And so Preston, he helped me, he coached me as to how to format, my writing. I sent him, some examples. He said, this is good, but this could use more descriptive language. He helped me, coached me so that I could actually write my book. And then I finally, it's not perfect. Well, at least you can tell it's not AI. I had it published on Amazon in December of 2024. And then over the last year, I've just been going on lots of shows telling people about my book. And what's really interesting is people like my book, and I'm really glad. So I pretty much have all 5 stars out of 5 stars on all my reviews, and people have been very, very kind to me. Preston wrote me a wonderful a testimonial, saying that he believes this is a real thing, and all that kind of stuff happened. Sorry, I didn't mean to run away with it. I just
no, you're okay.
Leave anything out.
No, it's all good.
Yeah.
So we've got one question for you so far from Amiga Doma, something like that. So they want to know, why did they contact you? Did they tell you? Did they give you a reason? Nothing.
But I was a good fit. No, they never said, gee, we need to take you up because you're special, Karen. You're so smart and spiritual.
But they're showing you all these things. They're teaching you telepathy. They're teaching you all this stuff, but they don't tell you why. That's curious.
Nope. Well, they may have, and I don't remember. Like, I don't remember absolutely everything that happened. But what I do remember is what I talk about and share in my book and in on podcasts and stuff. It's because I'm not gonna make stuff up. I mean, I could, but I'm not going to, because I believe it's for a purpose. Like, I really believe it happened to me for a purpose. I think on the one hand, I have the genetics and the whatever it takes to be able to do the transdimensional reality shift. I think they knew I was going to write the book. The timing of everything, the timing of the book coming out just over about 2.5 years ago. Now we're having what they call government disclosure. It's really interesting. The fact that I had a transdimensional experience, and now just in the last year, they're coming out and saying, "Oh yeah, these are interdimensional beings and guests," right? Yeah. How could I have known that? I didn't know that. So
you're saying those two things are connected, that you wrote this book and now this is all coming out. Are they connected?
No, I don't think they're connected, but I think the timing was great so that people were more receptive to hearing the message. And the message, like I said, is that these beings are at our next stage of development, not that far ahead. So as soon as we're ready as a race, which is the human race, right, to put away our warring ways, step outside of violence, competition, all the bullshit. As soon as we're ready to step out of that, we can create a reality based on a template, which I've described in my book, which is how they live.
Yeah.
And that's their purpose. So there's all different levels of transdimensional, interdimensional, space travel, everything. But this is the beings wanted me to have this experience and to share so that I would share it. And it had to be at the right time in order for the public to accept it. So I think, that's sort of why.
So they taught you telepathy. Can you communicate with us telepathically?
I don't know, to be honest.
Okay.
I don't know. But I did. I had to learn telepathy. And the reason I had to learn telepathy was because nobody uses voice or language. Language is, when you boil it down, language is like a specific set of symbols. and it contains our reality. It puts a guardrail on our reality, because how do we talk about things that we don't have language for? So one of the big challenges in writing my book was I had to I never was taught these concepts. I didn't have framework for it. I didn't have language for it, and so it took me time to develop that. So anyway, aboard the big ship, everything is pretty orderly, and a lot of beings are very tidy around the mouth. Speech the way we have it would be a little bit disturbing to some of these beings, because we're showing our teeth and we got saliva and we're making all these weird noises, depending on the language we speak. So plus words are a huge source of misunderstanding. And so
right. Which makes a lot of sense. What you're saying makes a lot of sense, but why would they need to teach you that if they can communicate with you and also read your thoughts? I mean, I would think that they're teaching you that so you can communicate with others telepathically, which would be awesome. And I would love to experience that.
Yeah, well, because telepathy is not what we think it is. Okay.
Okay.
So telepathy is a series of images in the mind's eye, like short video clips that run in the imagination.
That's what it is.
Includes emotions, it includes body sensations, it includes symbols. So it's a whole lot of data that we learn to interpret, and we learn how to share that. They also have a phenomenon that I call shielding, where they're able to, and I'll just use the word broadcast, they're able to broadcast their communication either with one or two people or a whole group, or keep their thoughts private. And so shielding is really important, because if you just had everybody just spewing out everything they're thinking and broadcasting, what a mess it would be. And so to keep it organized, and also that's part of their culture and system of manners, how you treat each other with respect, is you keep your dirty laundry to yourself and you only share that which you want to share. So for me, when I was learning telepathy, there's basically 4 levels of it. And the hardest part for me was to contain and put my thoughts behind a wall, so that I'm not sharing, I'm not broadcasting, so that my personal stuff stays my personal stuff. Do you know what I mean? And then I had to learn how to communicate with just a few people, or beings, depending what you want to call them, pretty much people. And you get better and better at it. So you need to learn how to shield, how to keep your private stuff private. You learn how to communicate with different amount of beings in a group, and you also learn. Well, it's like a whole new language, right? So it starts off very simply, where I would just imagine. I did the training through the big ship, which is also telepathic. As I mentioned, it's a biological entity of itself, and I used a small amount of technology to help me interface with it. Beings that are born on the big ship, they don't need that, but I did. And it's like I was just given a circle or a square, something very simple. And I had to hold that in my mind for 3 seconds, then 6 seconds, then 9 seconds. And then I would get like a little dopamine rush. I'd get like a warm, loving feeling that was my positive reinforcement when I did it correctly. And then after that, the second half of the lesson is the image in my mind's eye. When you get an image in your mind's eye from the big ship, it's indistinguishable from a real lived experience. But in my mind's eye, I would be in like a room with, 6 to 8 other beings. And then I would try to broadcast to them, maybe to only 2 of them, And then when it would leak out and the other beings would also pick up on it, they just raise their hand and smile. So I would know when I was doing it right or not doing it right. And these are not literal beings. This is just the lesson that the big ship provided for me. I think everyone's lessons are actually custom made. And then I had to try to keep it to myself and not share it. And I failed, oh my God, over and over and over again. I spent hours every single day training. Eventually, I got to the second level where I was able to see more complex shapes and shapes starting to interact. The third level is I'm able to read, emotion and symbols and shapes and how they interrelate with each other, that kind of thing. And the fourth level, of course, is mastery, learning to either infuse with emotion or completely not add any emotion. It was very complex. And so I was able to learn more about the workings of the big ship that way. And eventually I was then able to go out into the social reality aboard the big ship and make friends and form community, do training. Then more became possible because I didn't, you don't want to be making other beings feel uncomfortable. You need to learn the culture. And so I had to learn the culture.
Wow.
So with the big ship, this just builds up itself through organically. Is there any, I suppose, mechanisms
No, it was created. It was created. So where the big ship was created, if you could imagine, so how it's shaped is like a flattened button. So it's kind of like a sphere, flattened on top, flattened on the bottom, arms coming out the sides. Okay. So if you imagine if these arms are stretched out like a starfish and they all connect tip to tip and they form a huge mesh around a small star. And that's where they get their energy. And that's where they're born. These big ships are born there and they're raised there. Eventually they get crews, and the crews, like for instance the engineers, they have to learn how to interface with the big ship through telepathy. There's no screens. It's nothing like Star Trek. There's no beings sitting in front of monitors recalibrating everything. There's none of that going on. The engineers communicate directly with the big ship, and any of its needs that are not being met can be fixed, or whatever is going on, they look after all of that. So that's how that happened. So when one of the ships is, I call them ships, I don't know what they are, but when they're mature enough to take on a crew and break off from this mesh world, then they break off, and then all the remaining ships just kind of move a little bit to close out that hole, and it's all just a huge mesh covering it. And that's how the big ship, they're created. They're actually born and raised. I know it sounds totally bizarre, but that's how I understand it.
No, I mean, a lot of ships, they talk about that these ships are conscious, that they are alive, so no, that doesn't sound crazy to me.
Because that makes, I was just going to say, it makes sense as well, like what you both just said. But when a lot of people have these encounters, they see some sort of like light energy pulsating from the center of them. So is that where it could be?
Are you talking about the ship or the beings?
The ship. Oh, and the beings.
Well, the lighting system's really interesting because you can't tell where it's coming from. There's just light, however much light you need for whatever the task is you want to do, it's just provided for you. I have no idea where it comes from. Now, everything else aboard the big ship, there's no money. Everything is free, but everything is recycled and goes into like a 3D printing system. So what happens is at the end of the day, if you're done with what you're wearing or food or whatever, it just goes in a chute. And these chutes go down, and all the materium, whatever you want to call it, is broken down by critters that I call bugs, big bugs.
Yeah.
And they're perfectly happy in that environment. They just break everything down. And then everything is kind of siphoned off as either pure for drinking water, or there's a very nutrient rich, slightly viscous fluid that serves the communal baths for the beings. And then it goes and supplies all the nutrient and fluid for the hydroponic systems that are everywhere. They eat real food that grows there, but they don't have animals as far as I saw. Some of the material that these bugs break down goes into something like a 3D printer, but you could sort of imagine it halfway between a 3D printer and a replicator, like what they have on Star Trek, right? And it just produces anything and everything you would need. And there's two ways to communicate with the big ship and express our needs. One is through a tablet. The tablets are roughly the same size as my book. They got rounded corners. They just look like a piece of plexiglass. There's no ports or anything like that. And you telepathically communicate with it. And then it can either show up flat on a screen the way our cell phones are, or it could actually produce a holographic image that hovers above the device. So that's basically, and I used that a lot before I learned telepathy, which helped a lot. And so I just would let the big ship know what my needs were, and it was provided. Everything I needed was provided. It was really, really cool. So again, there's no competition between beings. They seem to be egoless. They vibe on what I call the love harmonic. So that means doesn't just mean that they're attracted to each other. If you vibe on the love harmonic, you also are fantastic at being patient, at remaining mild and calm under stress. All the virtues that we think of here on Earth, they've exercised that until it's become their culture. So it's very, very, very wonderful. Nobody wants to upset anybody or bully anybody, or it's just complete peace and beautiful harmony, regardless of what you're doing. It's very, very nice.
Do you have? Is there ever that you know of? And do you get any rogue beings that kind of like kick off or start being a bit, I suppose, obnoxious towards others? Does that ever happen?
I didn't see it. I never saw any. I never saw any of that. They were so, like, for me, they were so patient and so loving. Do you want to hear about a cultural event?
Can I ask you a question before we move on? Because I'm real curious, and I've been waiting to ask this question. You say they are not billions of years ahead of us. You say they're the next step, but they can produce clones. They can talk to us telepathically or communicate telepathically. They have ships. They know how to create ships that they can grow and create. How is that not way far advanced from us? How is that the next step? Like, are we almost there? Like, can we do it next week or something? Can we get to that next level? Because I feel like they are very far advanced compared to us.
Well, maybe if you had the experience with them, you would see it that way, but I don't see it that way because first of all, everything they do, we can do. We can do telepathy. That's part of our heritage. That's our birthright. We are all telepathic, but we've been so dummied down by a control system, we've lost a lot of these skills. So sometimes all it takes is for you to have some exposure to the next stage of development to go, hey, we can do this, and people, and this is why I say it's a spiritual program, because how it affected me after spending time with these beings is I wanted to be more like them. I wanted to bring that culture to here on Earth. So what did I have to do? Oh my God, I had to do messy old shadow work. I had to exercise patience. I still work on it every single day. That's one of my weak spots. Compassion for others, empathy, all of those things, having faith in other people, seeing the strengths that they're capable of, all of these things that I brought back. And now I exercise all of those things into my own life. So I know it's possible for all of us to do it. Now, a lot of people act badly because they're programmed, or they're sick, or they've been lied to, or they're under enormous pressures. We are living under a control system that does not have our best interests at heart. So when we have exposure to a system that does have our best interest at heart, oh my God, it's like drinking fresh, clean water for the first time. It's so incredible. It's just so incredible. And so that's why I say they're at our next stage of development. So can you imagine what would happen on Earth if we did away with the industrial military complex? We did away with nefarious religious beliefs, politics that are greedy and just steal everything from us. I mean, people call them the elite. I don't. I call them the parasite class, because everything they have, they've stolen from us. Like, can you imagine if we took all our resources, all our talent, everything, and we put it towards a beautiful new Earth with technologies for clean, beautiful natural foods, cities that you can't even imagine. We could be living anywhere on the Earth, whether it's a desert or up in the Arctic. We could have dome cities that are protected and beautiful. We could be living under the ocean. We could be living in the stratosphere. Like, there's so much we could do. Can you imagine? And
imagine for sure. I love everything you're saying, yes, and I want to believe all of it. However, to be able to get everyone on board with that seems like such a huge task, and to get it like to be the next step, it just seems like it would take. I just don't think the human race is capable of it. That's the sad statement, and I hate saying it because I do want to be. I want to be there. I like.
Can I just jump in quickly?
Okay.
Sorry, just for David saying that I'm not. I think we are capable of doing it. We just don't know how to do it. We haven't got that. We haven't got that instruction. Yeah, of where to begin, because you got to have that first step. I think we're capable. We've just been conditioned to not know anymore.
8.5 billion people.
Well, we can't even get it. That number is not accurate. There are not 8.5 billion people on the Earth.
It doesn't matter how many billion. There's billions of people. The fact is, how do you get 5 people in a room to agree on anything? That's the difficult piece, is to be able to get.
We haven't been taught.
Conditioned.
It's just because it's our conditioning. So I want to say something that's really important. I do not expect you to believe me. I do not expect your audience to believe me. In fact, it's quite an unbelievable experience. I'll admit that outright. Okay. I agree. Second of all, I want to say that this is my interpretation of my experience, and it may not make sense to you out there, and that's okay. You don't have to. But I think that it would be nice if people at least said, okay, we're hearing the Greys are coming, picking people up and giving them anal probes. But then Karen also talks about that. And it's another piece of the puzzle that everyone has to put together for themselves to understand what's real and what's not real. That's not my job to convince anybody. But according to my own experiences, we absolutely are capable of this. We have technologies that are inborn, that are our birthright for being able to do transdimensional travel. We already know there's lucid dreaming. There's remote viewing, there's astral projection, there's out-of-body experiences, there's near-death experiences. These things have been proven over and over again. Telepathy, if you don't know, watch the telepathy tapes. It's an audio podcast by I can't remember her name, but Kai Dickens. And it proves without a shadow of a doubt there are many, many people here on Earth who not only are fully telepathic, they just also happen to mostly be nonverbal autistic people, but it also includes their caregivers, their parents, everything. And it's already happening. And they go to places. One of the places where they go without going anywhere is called the Hill. And when they go to the Hill, they communicate with each other, they encourage each other, they take care of each other, they have experiences with angels and all kinds of other beings. This is now being proven. So what I'm saying is not that wild and not that weird. So regardless of how many people are on this earth, yeah, there's some people who aren't going to want this kind of utopian way of life. That sure, but you know what, all the shit we're going through on earth right now is to wake people up, to show them this isn't working, guys, we need to find another way. So Karen is offering a way, but not the way. Everyone has to choose for themselves, but it is absolutely possible. And that's why I had my experience. I'm not special, I don't have any kind of amazing human characteristics, nothing like that. I'm an old lady crying out from the wilderness, just trying to share another piece of the puzzle that it happens to be extremely possible and extremely doable. Sorry, I got off on a bit of a thing there.
No,
Not at
you're
all.
okay.
Not. I love that whole thing. I would love if this whole world would roll that way. I want that for
Me
sure.
too.
Yeah, I want that. And I respect everything you said. And it's just woo. Getting there is I wish I could see it. But I think it has to be one person at a time, right, Karen?
I guess. So like I said, these beings are constantly transmitting into our realm. And so when we're ready, we can pick up on it. But I'm going to tell you, I had to make a lot of changes in my life. I had to change what I ate. I had to change my sleeping habits. I had to change who I hung out with, what kind of influences socially I was able to take in. I have to limit how much of the alt news I'm watching. I don't watch any mainstream anything, but alt news, how much of that I take in, because you start buying it after a while. And I need to keep myself separate and, for lack of a better word, clean from that so that I can stay on my mission. And I'm an old lady, I'm not going to live forever, but at least I know I'm doing something positive and hopefully giving people hope, because a lot of people are feeling hopeless, sad. So many people are sick and ill and full of diseases and afraid of everything from ticks to nuclear war, right? Like, this is not a happy place being on earth right now, but we can change it. We have amazing abilities that we don't even know we have, and we need to start waking up to that. But there's forces that do not want us waking up, do not want us finding out, do not want anything. And 90% of what I'm seeing for government disclosure, I'm in Canada, so I'm sort of seeing what's coming out of the States, in my opinion, is complete bullshit. Absolute complete bullshit. And how much of the rest is real? I don't know. But my story's pretty strange. So who am I to tell other people their experiences are not real? I just let them do their thing. I've had no experiences with reptilians or, humans are beings that look like humans, or none of the popular culture. But I'm going to say one thing is that if you do see a flying saucer or something that you can't explain, and it's got nuts and bolts and rivets, that ain't from ET, that's domestic. And that's the other thing. It's being very confusing with what's real and what's not. You add AI into the mix, God, who knows? So really, I encourage people to live the kind of life that they can perhaps raise their frequency and start getting contact from some of these other beings that, they're going to wait for us to figure it out for ourselves. And they actually have complete faith that we can figure this out for ourselves. We can come into our personal sovereignty, our collective sovereignty. We can do it. But first, we got to wake up. And this is the waking up time.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah.
It is. It's that we all just need to get behind each other, really, and give it a bit of a shove, because the government, I've said it now, the government are not going to do it. They're doing the opposite.
You know, Andy, I'm beginning to think that it's not that entity. I think it's something else. That it's not the, you said it, government. I'm beginning to think it's another.
No. Yeah. It's something. It's
some sort of shadowy. I don't know what.
Yeah. Well, when
cabal.
I say government, I don't mean the ones that you see on TV, not the ones that are in the media. I mean the government are the real ones that are running the show, the ones that are doing all the stuff and making the actual decisions, not the puppets.
There's this guy out here named Amagao Doma who wants to know, what tribe are you from, Karen?
I'm not from any tribe. I'm just a human.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure what he means
I don't
by that
have a
question
religion.
either.
I don't have a politic. No religion, no politic, no association. I'm not with any groups. I'm all by myself with 2 cats, just crying out from the wilderness.
Well, I found in my tribe is Apache, as far back as I can go, but that's a whole other thing. That's a whole other thing.
But I wanted to say that the word government means mind control. So it's not about Trump or Carney or whoever is running things in the UK. It's not about that. You're right. There is a higher something, and I don't even know if it's fully human. I have no idea. All I know is it ain't good, and we're not doing that good. Us humans are not doing that good.
No, we're not.
Most people are stressed out of their minds. And of course, they're all looking for a savior. So that's the other thing I feel I need to say. ET is not our savior. These interdimensional beings are not here to save us. It's not their job. But they can help to inspire us so that we can want to change ourselves. And we need to become the change we want to see in the world. It's been said over and over again. People aren't willing to do the work. They're not willing to change their diet. They're not willing to change their sleep habits. They're not willing to practice virtues. They're not willing to do that. So, okay, well, sucks to be them.
So what are your thoughts on religion? What, because I heard you say, what's that?
Can you just hold that? Because we've got a question in the chat. And then if you can carry your question on from this, is that all right?
Sure.
Because it's all related. So
I guess, Andy,
first.
I guess. Yes. Go ahead.
Yes, yeah. So this is from Warren Hardcastle. Hi, Warren. Hope you're okay. Who does Karen think is really running things? Are the government aligned with specific alien races? Just because of what we was just covering, I didn't want it to get pushed back. That was all.
I believe, and this is just my personal opinion, I'm not any kind of a expert on anything. But I believe that the government is all the governments that we recognize, whatever political party, I think it's all an act of theater. It's all theater. It's all theater. And then I think there's a level above that includes maybe the Epstein class. And then there's a level above that. And the level that's at the top and still human, or hopefully mostly human, they're just playing chess. And every 300 years or so, they screw everything up and then or wipe the slate clean and they start again. And I think that they probably, I don't know, there was a movie about that where these 2 billionaires bet some stupid $2 or something could ruin this guy's life, right? Yeah, you know what I'm talking about,
Trading
right?
places.
Trading places, Eddie Murphy and...
Yeah, so there's, I think it runs a little bit like that. And they have they know stuff and they hold the power. I just did, I do research all the time on all the weird stuff. So I was just doing some research on the mud floods. And there was one woman who actually witnessed it, who gave her testimony before she died. And that testimony survived, And basically, it was just like life was going on the way it normally would. And then all of a sudden, it was like the atmosphere changed, the air pressure changed, everything changed. And this dry mud just came up from, below their feet and swallowed 20 feet or more of all the everything, killed people, everything. I mean, you take a look at how many skulls and bones and stuff are buried under cathedrals and in Paris. You look at all this weird stuff. Somebody had some technology. So now we've got technologies that control the weather and can make earthquakes and things like that. It's more understandable how every 300 or 400 years they do a reset. Well, we're coming up to another reset, and it's almost like, gee, who predicted that it would end this way or that way? It's just big, pardon me, fucking game to the highest level. And we'll never even know who those beings are, whether they're fully human or not. But I don't think it's fair to blame it on ET, because humans are really capable of being dirty bastards. Pardon my language.
True story. It's true.
Karen.
That's the thing. It's true though. It's people are just, well, not everyone, but there's certain.
Well, certainly Andy.
Certain bloodlines that are like to do a lot of controlling, shall we say.
Yeah,
Thoughts on religion, Karen?
Pardon?
Thoughts on religion?
Well, it depends whether you're talking about dogma or philosophy. Okay.
I love philosophy.
There's philosophical frameworks that I think can be really amazing and help to raise your frequency. But as far as dogmatic religions go, ET doesn't use that. They do understand there's universal consciousness. They understand that universal consciousness is aware, is compassionate, and that we all have access to it. In fact, it's tied in very closely with the plasma physics that they're now starting to realize everything is plasma, and all this dark space and dark energy and crap that they've been calling it is actually a very connected, loving, feeling, vibing universe that we live in. So I think that we're starting to get close to understanding reality. There's so many people doing good work, everyone from Donald Hoffman and you name it. There's so many people that are exploring reality and what reality is. But basically, there's universal consciousness. So there's no use in just going to church and pretending you're a good person. That's ridiculous. What are you doing behind the scenes? How are you treating the people you're supposed to love? How are you treating your neighbor? How are you treating your own body? That's the other thing. We don't know how to love. Don't know what love is. We don't even know how to love ourselves. So once we start understanding what love is, and if you read my book, you'll get a good start on that. Then you start to love yourself, because until you can love yourself, how are you supposed to love anyone else? So I myself created kind of an internal kind of a parent who tells me, Karen, I know you want to have chocolate cake and you're not having chocolate cake. That's not in your best interest. Let's go outside and feed the birds and go for a little walk and pet the kitties or eat something else that's healthy. Like I have to use self-discipline. Self-discipline is part of love. Self-regulation is part of love. If we can't self-regulate, forget it. We're not going to be able to do anything. So even if we were raised in really dysfunctional situations like I was, and I go into that a bit in chapter 2 of my book, just so people see that I'm pretty flawed, ordinary human who's had my challenges like everybody else. We still can change, evolve, grow, become more beautiful, become more loving, become more compassionate. Those are not just words. You can look up the meaning, but it's actually a way of life. It raises our frequency. And when we raise our frequency, now we're able to connect with other higher frequency beings. They may not be the same as the ones I connected with. Yeah. But I'm telling you, there's a lot of love and a lot of help out there. But we have to be willing to do the work. And most people don't want to. Oh my God, shadow work. I hate shadow work. And there's always another fucking layer to the onion when you're doing shadow work. It never ends. But if you're brave and you sally forth with your metaphorical sword and you do it, oh my God, your life changes. I have had no idea my life could be so good. And it is good. It's awesome. I don't know how many people can say that, honestly. I actually engineered my own life so it fits me perfectly. Everything I do fits perfectly. So I have so many times during the day where I'm going, oh my God, I'm so happy and so peaceful. I didn't know life could be like that. I know other people want to hit me with a stick because they don't seem to be able to find that. But it's there for everybody. This is not just something for some elite class or some old lady who happened to somehow be chosen. I guess I was chosen. I guess I was. I cooperated, but I'm not really 100% sure how it happened, but it did.
No, I get that because I'm getting like that, but work just gets in the way of the stuff that I want to do. So if I could remove that from the equation, then it'd be great. It really would. But
you can remove it. I removed it, but
I can. And then I'd be living on the street. And
exactly.
Yeah. It's not going to happen yet.
But she's talking about spiritually. She's talking about
everything else.
Because when she says there's certain parts of the day where I'm like either I'm driving out or doing whatever I'm doing, and I'm happy, and it takes me a second to say, "You're happy, dude. You need to live in this for a little bit." Because it it doesn't last. It goes away, and then other emotions come in. That's just the way life is, right? Yeah. But to be able to consistently hit that is something you have to work at. She's absolutely right about that.
Yeah. I've had a week last week where it was a bit crap, but other than that, most of the time I'm like, I'm loving this. I'm happy. I'm where I want to be. I could probably get frequency-wise and spiritually higher, but at the moment, I'm all right where I am.
Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's just about being content, just being content with what is. I get people who write to me and they say, "Oh, Karen, I want what you have. I want to have your experiences. I want to have this and that." I say, "Okay, why don't you keep a food journal? Write down everything you eat for a week." "Oh, I can't do that." "Well, I'm sorry." They think I can magically touch them with my magic wand and give them what I have. And oh my God, you have no idea how hard I've worked to have what I have. And now that I have it, oh my God, I'm really excited. I'm hanging on to it.
Yeah, but isn't cake delicious?
You know what? Lots of things make you feel good, but in the long run, they actually take away from your energy and your spirit. So
I didn't say feel, I said taste. It tastes delicious.
I don't know. I have not eaten any cake or anything like that, or any processed food or anything for over 20 years.
Amazing.
It's gone. Wow. I do not do it anymore.
I had a bar of chocolate yesterday. I just needed a sugar rush. I could feel myself flagging. Yeah. And I had this chocolate. It was so good at the time, but then after, because I've not ate chocolate for months, and then it's like, kind of regret having it, but at the moment it was amazing. It really was.
Every once in a while I go out with my one of my grown children and their partner, and we go for Chinese food, right? And I know it's not particularly good for me, but once in a while, what the hell? And it's really funny because we go to a smorgasbord, and the first plate, oh my God, it tastes so good. It's absolutely orgasmic.
Temptation.
And then I go and get a second plate, and it tastes like crap, and it's like the magic is gone. So this is the thing.
First dish, then stop.
Brilliant.
And then I'm just chasing the dragon. So we're addicted to all kinds of things that make us feel good. It's like chasing the dragon. You want to eat another one because it tasted so good, but it just doesn't taste so good after that first one. So what I do is I go, okay, all the things in your life that really give you intense pleasure, you don't do all of them every day. You stagger them out. So in a week, maybe you do 7 completely different things that give you that wonderful endorphin rush, right? And plus, I got to tell you, when you work towards a goal, and you achieve those goals. So you start small and you build them bigger and bigger. There is a huge dopamine rush in that, not to mention satisfaction and really being proud of yourself and just, oh my God, it makes you feel so good. So, I mean, I didn't know any of this before, but I know now. So I'm going to tell everybody.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. Right. We have got another question for you from Space Cow.
Okay.
So she's asking, does Karen, I'm guessing it's a she, does Karen know anything about the Elder, the Ancients, or the Watchers? Thanks.
Nope. I don't know anything about anything. And the more I learn, the more I realize I don't know. I just had this freaky experience in 2014, and I just went with it, how I needed to process the experience. And I am encouraged by my non-physical guides. I have non-physical guides. I love them. I don't know what I'd do without them. You could call it Holy Spirit. Some people call it Jesus. I just don't have a label for it, to help me out when I need the help. And besides that, every day is a do-over. It's like a mini death when you go to bed and you go to sleep and you wake up and it's a new life. And it's like every day is new. And I got to tell you something really cool about getting old that you guys might not realize is when you get old, you can look back at your life. You can look back at what went well, what didn't go well, what you could have done better, what you needed to stop doing, what you needed to start doing, and you course correct in the now. And the now is an N-O-W, capital N, capital O, capital W. It's the crest of the wave of your reality. It's a really sacred and powerful space to be in. So you make corrections in the now, and guess what? You're guaranteeing that tomorrow is going to be better. And you do it again tomorrow, and the day after that is going to be even better. And you start crawling out of this life that we've been handed and start to craft and create a life you never dreamed possible. And you do it for yourself, and no one can do that for you.
I love that, Karen. That is so amazing. I love that so much. And I am already old, so I know exactly what you're talking about, girl.
I'm nearly old.
Yeah, he's younger than me.
Old.
Not much. Not even 12 months, is it?
No, it's a year or less than a year. Yeah, it's about the same.
You're both kids. You're both kids.
Well, I'm going to be honest with you, Karen. I didn't know anything about you before this, and hearing your story I was finding it difficult to believe. I'll be honest, but everything you're saying makes sense to me. And so I'm so glad to hear what you had to experience. I'm so glad of the things you said, because that's what I want for this world, is that what you're talking about. And it kind of aligns with what, I feel like this is what we need to be, where we need to be going. So yeah, I'm so grateful to meet you. Thank you so much, Karen. Oh my God. Welcome. Very appreciate this. And I hope you're right. I hope the next step for us is right around the corner.
Oh, absolutely. And for everybody, I know people say, oh, you're just pushing your book. Damn straight I'm pushing my book. I am pushing my book. Guys.
She needs to buy cake, you guys.
It's an easy read. Oh, I never did get to tell you about the cultural event. We're probably out of time now, but
You've got 15 minutes.
Do you want to hear about a really cool cultural event?
Yes, please.
Oh, of course.
Okay, so this is aboard the big ship. And there was going to be a concert, a performance done. And I was all excited and I was getting ready and I had the most beautiful blue dress. I know this part probably is not that critical to the story, but I had this beautiful long evening gown, the way posh women who go to the opera would have, this silky light blue, beautiful evening gown. And I had the long gloves that went up my arms. It was so beautiful. And my friend was helping me with my hair. And then my other friends came to get us and we all walked to the concert hall and they're all excited. And I know there's something they're not telling me, but I don't know what it is, right? So my friends drag me right to the front, right before the stage. Everything is, all the seating is kind of like being in a bowl so that people farthest away are higher up so they can see. And so we're sitting really close to the stage, and these beings come out and they have musical instruments and they start to perform. And the performance is nothing like you could ever imagine. The performance includes musical instruments, voice tones, but also telepathy. So they're creating an amazing image that's filling all of our minds collectively at the same time as part of this performance. And I had been working really hard on shielding, really, really hard on it, because I didn't want to go to something like this concert and be leaking out. You know what I mean? I wanted it to be contained so that I could, so that everyone else could also enjoy it, not just me. And so anyway, but the performance kind of was kind of building up and building up and building up to a bit of a climax point with these visions and the sounds and the tones. And it was more than I could stand. I just couldn't stand it. It was so intense for me. And I just burst out crying, because that's what I do when I need an emotional release. I burst out crying. When, oh my God, what have I done? What have I done? I've ruined the whole performance for everybody. But then I looked to my buddy who was next to me, and she's smiling like I'd done something good. And I'm going, I'm totally confused. I have no idea what's going on here, right? Then the performers from the stage start coming down from the stage and heading towards me. And I think I'm in some kind of trouble because I've ruined the whole concert. And they congratulated me. This is going to make me cry because it was so intense. They congratulated me because that is how they culminate and end their performance. They will keep building until someone has this emotional outburst. And then there was other people that also had emotion after I did it. I was the first one to do it. And then other people started having these emotional outbursts as well. And they were so happy because it told them that their performance had been absolutely powerful and did what they intended it to do. So, I mean, here I thought I was in trouble, and I was not. I was actually kind of like held up as, this is wonderful, and she's so wonderful. She was the first to break down. Anyway, I just thought you'd find that interesting. And you can read about it in great detail, also about my beautiful dress and my opera gloves in my book.
There you go. So it's, what's the name of the book again? Neighbors.
Transdimensional. Meet the New Neighbors.
That's it. Meet the New Neighbors.
Yeah, because they are our neighbors. We just didn't know about them before, right? Like there's a whole lot going on outside of our narrow little, what we can see for color spectrum, narrow little what we're hearing, narrow little what our sensations of touch. And there's so much going on that we can't even imagine. We'd be probably really freaked out if we could pick up all this other, stuff going on around us. But we're quite limited here. And then we've been programmed down and used and abused. And it's time for us to take our power.
So with the book, did you say you've got a second book? Or are you doing a second book?
I do have a second book.
Oh,
and
cool.
The second book is completely different. It's a picture book. So I'll just grab it. It's a picture book. And the reason I was directed to produce this book was because I did it in January of 2025, and I knew that it was like, I just knew, I don't know how I know, I just know stuff, that they were going to do disclosure. And one of the first beings that they were going to put out there was the Greys, and they were going to create a narrative about the Greys. So I wrote this book. Chapter 1 is all about my experiences with Bob the Gray and what the different beings on the ship look like and different adaptations that some of them naturally have. And then chapter 2, I got a lot of my friends to write their own experience. So this is a page written, I don't know if you can see it, written by
Yes.
Dolly Saffron. And there's an image that of her, a contact she calls Mama. I have same thing from Preston Dennett, from the Kinsella twins, Ronald and
Philip.
Thank you, Philip Kinsella. They're my friends. Elsa Dillon, and Jimmy Blanchett, who comes from a completely different kind of perspective. So they all contributed to my book. But after the first 2 chapters, there's no more writing. All I have is images that I created. And the funny thing about this is I just compulsively started creating all these images with a really old AI model. Like this is 2 years old back when I did this. And somehow I connected with the AI model. I can't explain it. Maybe it's a coinky dink. I don't know. And I was able to create these amazing images. Here's some of the females. So the Greys, the only thing they have in common is they don't have the pigment to reflect light in our visible spectrum of the light spectrum. That's the only thing they have in common. They come from all different worlds, dimensions, and like I said before, some of them are even kind of like robots, right?
Yeah.
But biological. So there's over 250 of these amazing images in here. Here's some cute family photos I included. And the reason for this book is to reduce people's fear. Because if you can reduce your fear, you can hang on to your critical thinking skills. You can stay grounded, and you're not going to buy the propaganda and the bullshit that's going to come out of mainstream media. But you kind of need to get used to what beings might look like or closely resemble, so that you're not freaked out. Instead, you can go, oh, I saw beings very much like that in Karen's book, and this is something you can talk to your kids about. And so it's mostly a picture book. So some people were a little disappointed it wasn't as in-depth as my first book. But and I actually have a third book on its way, that's all about waking up and what we need to do in order to raise our frequency so we're healthier and happier humans. And it's called
Heidi.
Sorry. Go ahead.
I was saying bye to Heidi. She's taking off.
Oh,
really
okay.
Appreciate you being here, Heidi. Thank you so much.
So the program is called Quantum Health Transformation, and I received it in a download also back in 2014. And I've updated it 3 times, but I'm going to make a workbook and actually publish it so people can have a workbook that they can learn the lessons from my download and then, do their own kind of homework to help drive it home and all that kind. So that's coming up and coming.
Ooh. Very cool. That's really cool.
Yes, you'll have to get that book, David. Give you a better understanding.
Well, the time she said 2014, that's the year I died. So that's interesting to me. Yeah, I was like, that's interesting that it happened at the same time. Very cool. Well, thank you so much, Karen. I really appreciate you joining us. This is so amazing.
Just before you go, we did get a question come in last minute.
Go ahead.
That's right. It's literally just come in as you saying that. So this is from Scooby Dooby, and he's saying, do the Greys carry spare body parts, or do they use a replicator?
But she had mentioned earlier, replicator.
The only answer I have is I don't know.
Was in then.
I don't know. But if you missed the beginning of this podcast, watch the replay. And I get into the clone bodies quite a bit there. Oh, I also want to tell people I have a YouTube channel, Karen Holton TV. I host 2 podcasts, the Aliens and Angels podcast live on Sundays, and the Quantum Guide show that I host on Wednesdays. And I also have a website, www.KarenHoltonHealthCoach.com. I'm a different kind of health coach, and my books are available on Amazon worldwide. Thanks for letting me throw in that.
There you go.
Love
Sorted.
it. Love it.
So some of them links are in the description on here. But no, thank you so much for coming on again. Really do appreciate it.
My pleasure. Anytime.
Yes, definitely get you back on again at some point in the near future.
You might want to watch Tommy Callum's podcast because we're going to talk about
sex. Who is that? Who's that guy?
We're going to talk about sex on the big ship. What is that all about? Mm-hmm. Coming up next month.
In the ship or with the ship?
No, never with the ship. Always
never with the
other
ship.
Humanoids.
Do you know, I spoke to Tommy yesterday, and he knew he was coming on today, and he goes, he's so good he couldn't get on because he's working, but he didn't mention that that he was going back on. Yeah, he didn't mention that. He kept that quiet.
Yeah, it's going to be really exciting.
We're going to get him. We're going to get him.
Yes, we are.
Of course, if you want to know it before Tommy's podcast, you can always buy my book and read about it firsthand.
There you go.
So there you have it.
Yeah.
All right.
So thank you
guys
again
so much. You've been wonderful. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for all the detail and information. Thank you, everyone in the chat. Thank you, David. As I said earlier, Abby's not very well, so she's not on. And Nicole had to stay on at work because somebody didn't turn up. Basically, that was it. So just the three of us. But it was great, as always.
New episode of David Don't Know dropped yesterday, guys. Go out and check it out. It's with Askia the Boogeyman Booker, and he is the host of the Horrible Podcast, which is the fastest growing horror podcast in the world today. So he was a great guest. It was really awesome. It is popping off right now. So go check it out. David Don't Know on YouTube.
Yes. And while I remember, I am back on tomorrow at 4 p.m. UK time. And I'm going to be talking to a guy called Alex Page, and we're going to be talking about the mysteries of Cannock Chase. That's a place over in the UK that I've been to several times, and he's doing a documentary there. I was on his podcast a few weeks ago, so I said, right, get him back on air, because I've got loads of footage in that I want to send to him. So, yeah, so we're doing that tomorrow afternoon, and then failing that, or if you can't make it for that, going to be back, myself and Abby, all being well, on Monday when we're going to be talking to Gary Heseltine, one of the investigators of the Rendlesham UFO incident back in 1980. So
nice.
And then Wednesday, and then next Friday is going to be our last Friday, like official last Friday. We're still going to do a few in between, but
it's seasonal, people. It's seasonal.
Yeah, it's too warm. It's too warm. It's 90 degrees Fahrenheit here today.
Jeez.
I know. So glad we got aircon. That's all I can say.
Thanks to everyone in the chat. Yes. Really appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you to Darren and Stephen for doing the moderating. Thank you to all the tier members. Thank you to everyone subscribing. And yeah, so that's everything. So I will see you back here tomorrow at 4 p.m. Like I said, UK time, when we're going to talk about Cannock Chase. Hopefully we'll get Karen back on soon.
Yes.
And the influences of Tommy Cullum and his cheap cider from where he works. That's all I'm going to say. So have a wonderful evening, everyone. I said, see you again tomorrow. If not, see you at some point next week. Thank you, David. Thank you, Karen. That's it. Anything you want to add before we finish, quickly, if there's anything you forgot?
Just thank you to everybody watching and for you hosting, and just it's been lovely. Thank you.
Thank you. Right, until next time. See you then. Bye-bye.
Signal acquisition initiated. Cross-referencing anomaly archives. Pattern recognition complete. Aether 8 online. Proceed.
Welcome back. You found it again. The UFO Files. Broadcast Broadcasting round the clock on Alienate UK. Red-eye listeners, insomniacs, sky watchers, van drivers on the long haul. You're tuned to the only station that stares back at the dark with you. 24 hours, we circle the same old questions. Lights over the north, shadows over the south. Phone lines open, headphones on, blinds half drawn. I got case notes spread like takeaway menus. Highlighters bleeding through until sunrise. Coordinates scribbled on coffee stained napkins from a truck stop somewhere near the east coast. We don't do jump scares here, we do the long stare out the window at 3:33 a.m. when the estate's asleep and the sky feels too crowded. You call in with that voice, half whisper, half there. First time chatter, long time watcher, and the hairs rise on every neck in frequency range. Maybe it's satellites, maybe it's stories we tell, so we're not alone in these flickering terraces and rented rooms. Either way, keep your dial right here. This is the UFO Files. Alienate UK. All night, every night. Welcome back.
Alien 8 UK.